Hello, folks. Welcome to Business Spotlight. My guest today is a fantastic local entrepreneur who's absolutely combined his passion for hospitality and his commitment to supporting young people. Today, I'm welcomed by the absolutely fantastic Sanj Chandi, who's the managing director and founder of Treat Street. Let's dive straight in, Sanj. Why don't you share the story behind how you started your business? It's a great one.
I've always had quite a passion for kind of hospitality. Failing kind of school, didn't do too well in that side of things. Had a job at Nando's. Who doesn't love a cheeky Nando's? I enjoy what I do at Nando's, and how can I do what I do at Nando's but still be successful? Because that was a light bulb moment of, right, I'm going to open up my own restaurant and do what I enjoy doing and do it for myself.
And it was a really interesting journey, wasn't it? Because you tried to get opened in Milton Keynes,
Definitely a journey.
faced lots of blockers there, and ended up opening a store in a restaurant in Bedford, and then came back to Milton Keynes for your second one. Tell us a bit more about that.
Frustrating being kind of 21 and just constantly hitting a roadblock after roadblock, and being taken seriously at that age is obviously a challenge in itself, kind of meeting landlords and just feeling like it's one of those where it's personal. But I get it, business is business, and obviously they want a bit of confidence in who they're letting in, and I think that was the biggest challenge at the beginning, was finding the perfect location. I mean, I knew my brand, and for me it was only acceptable to be in a prime location with other big brands, reputable brands, to kind of give us that same level of respect. And it was a challenge at first, but then we ended up finding a lovely new development in Bedford. Opened there, had a kind of proof of concept, persisted and tried again with Milton Keynes at MK1, and I think that was the main thing for them, seeing something that has worked and looked amazing, gave them that bit of confidence.
We were talking off camera just now, and something that really struck me was that you were really passionate about wanting to kind of push and prove that education isn't a determining factor for your success in your future. Just tell us a bit more about that.
I had it deep down in myself that I want to achieve something. It was kind of needing to prove to whoever it was and myself that I can do something for myself. And another passion for me is giving that hope to young people out there that education shouldn't be the only deciding factor. Don't let that determine whether or not you can be successful, because there's 1,000 different skills out there that don't require those particular kind of skill sets that you'd gain from education. I'm not saying it's not important, because it does put you that kind of step further. I mean, if I'd got a degree in business, I knew I'd have a fair bit of knowledge to kind of help me, guide me through the journey. You can make up for those in other areas, and kind of building relationships. I mean, that's something that's not really taught in school, and if you've got that kind of conversational skills, you can really kind of excel in that side.
We're going to come on to this in a minute, but I know that you really walk the talk, because you do a lot in terms of going back into schools and supporting people, developing young people and helping them to get involved in this stuff. But before we go into all of that, let's just talk a bit about the challenges. So, because it wasn't an easy journey in the beginning, tell us a bit about some of the biggest challenges you faced when you started the business, and how did you overcome them?
I think we briefly spoke about one. Is obviously at the beginning, it was being a nobody. It was a first time kind of young person trying to get into these kind of prime locations. I think that was a challenge in itself. Challenges more recently, I'd say, are myself. I'd say my biggest challenge is I'm still learning more about myself and what my strengths and weaknesses are. After opening Bedford, it was the challenge of managing people, motivating people to kind of really buy into your journey, and motivating them to want to kind of help you reach your goals. That is definitely a big challenge that I'm still facing now.
Your industry is extremely competitive in hospitality. So how did you build a strong brand that really kind of stands out?
I'm my own target market, and I'm surrounded with staff members that are within the same bracket. So it does help to start kind of keep an ear to the ground, whereas you've got these big kind of corporate companies that might have people with years and years of experience. But as you know, things change year on year. Like the market is always changing. So kind of staying new and fresh it is definitely a key part of that. One of our biggest things is within hospitality, although the food aspect of it is a key part, but we really believe that that's only 50% of of why people go out to eat. Your first instance is, right, we're meeting up with friends, and then the next thing is, what can we do? I mean, it's just by chance the only options really out there are, let's go out for a meal. Plans are to create a space in which people can come together and make memories, and it just so happens that we sell good quality desserts and cocktails while you're there.
Has there been a moment, a pivotal moment, or a decision that you made that's really significantly impacted on the growth of the business or the destination of the business?
If I'm pointing out one in particular, I'd say the most expensive lesson of mine was really running with things. I mean, I opened Bedford April 2018. I think I was 22 at that time. And then from there, within 12 months, we had our second site up and running in Milton Keynes. So April 2019, 3 or 4 months after opening Bedford, for some crazy reason, I decided to email MK1 for the 7th time, just to be like, hey, by the way, we've now opened a store. Here's what it looks like. Although they had rejected us about 6 times, the response I got was, right, let us know when you're ready for your second site. We'd love to have you on board. And as annoyed as I was at that time, like, where was that 6 months ago? But it was one of those, I knew MK1, although I knew it was an amazing area, it was personal to me because I worked at the Nando's just across the road. So it was one of those kind of feelings for myself to be able to open up my own restaurant a couple of doors down the road from where I worked was definitely a leap that we had to take. Bedford got neglected, trying to manage both with very little experience. And then COVID came along and slowly Bedford started to decline. And where Milton Keynes was really picking up, I'll hold my hands up to say I neglected Bedford, and through that we ended up selling it about just over a year ago. Definitely from that experience, I've learned a lot, and by far most expensive lesson I've had.
Let's just dive into that. I mean, clearly your response to failure and setback is to be extremely resilient, right, and don't take no for as an answer. But you know, what lessons have you learned in terms of remaining resilient, remaining determined, and achieving the goal that you want to get to?
Making mistakes, making sure you learn from them, because then there's no issue behind it, as long as you learn from them. But a key thing I've definitely found is a cheaper way too, is learning from others' mistakes. So many scenarios where brands have popped up. I mean, the burger industry, I mean, 10 years ago, it was on the similar incline to the dessert industry. They were popping up left, right, and center, and chains growing from 10 to kind of 80 sites, which is a similar thing we're seeing in the dessert industry. Now you've seen so many brands kind of closing down. I feel like that is a key part. That's a question in the back of my head is, how do we make sure we don't follow suit on that? And it's really, again, touching base on being innovative and creative and making sure that we're staying ahead of the game. The key thing for us was creating a space which people can come together. Keeping that in mind when we make decisions, we're with our upstairs, we're looking at putting in some more entertainment kind of features. I don't want to say too much yet because they're still kind of early stages, but staying true to what our mission was helps us guide and making sure we kind of drive into that same goal really, and learning from others' mistakes.
Your industry is notorious for working very, very long, late hours. How on earth do you keep, especially when you were running 2 sites, how do you maintain that work-life balance as an entrepreneur? And how do you make sure that you avoid burnout?
A year and a half ago, I was on the other side of working kind of open till close. I think that was a key part of me losing my motivation. A learning curve for me was when taking some time out and then seeing that refresh and that motivation, putting in that kind of hierarchy for myself and making the business work like a machine, less stress on myself so I can focus more on working on the business rather than in the business.
Tell me a bit about marketing and growth strategies. It's the question I always get asked by so many people. What works for you?
Like I touched on before, I mean, I'm fortunate to be within my own target market. So being in that area, it's a little bit easier because I'm always kind of looking for something to do. So I'm keeping an eye on what other companies are doing in London. Take different kind of formulas to mold in a Treat Street way, and I'm surrounded by young people working for me as well. So it's keeping an ear to the ground, working with students. I mean, again, my target market, going back to schools, talking about the Treat Street journey. We've had so many people from that. Although I do it for other purposes, but we have loads of students coming from schools, coming into Treat Street saying, oh, we heard about your story. Even parents coming up to me. I think that is also a big motivator for me.
So tell me a little bit more then about how networking and building strong relationships has really affected your entrepreneurial journey.
So I along with 7-8 other people, we run Milton Keynes Ethnic Business Community. Being with like-minded people, loads of kind of business people, kind of putting your heads together. Also the NatWest Accelerator. I feel like, yes, they run kind of workshops, but I think the most valuable thing from there was the networking aspect of it. Business has those core things that are the same throughout whatever business you're in, and being able to hear and talk to other business people, it changes your mindset, and it also reminds you, being in business is a lonely game. It's always, you've got people coming, you've got people leaving, and it's like you're constantly getting in a relationship and being done. Being able to kind of have that community is mentally, it's really important, but also it helps you make better decisions because everyone's going through a similar journey.
You heard it from Sanj first. Being in business is like getting dumped frequently. How do you, you're in a fast moving world, right? And you've got a very young dynamic. How do you stay up to date with latest trends, technologies to make sure that you're remaining competitive?
One, obviously, does it help us be an environment where people want to come enjoy themselves? And two, talking points. Whatever we're looking to introduce, whether it's to our menu, whether it's to our concept, it's always, will people talk about it? Having things that are quirky enough, I mean, music's a core part of ours. I mean, we've got, I think, over 600-700 vinyls in the restaurant. Our menus are printed on a vinyl cover, and then our vegan menus are actually on a vinyl, so they go into our menu and then they come out. You've got our savory and vegan menu, so it's talking points. It's staying kind of quirky. It's, are people going to see that and go to the office and be like, oh yeah, there's this really cool spot that they have their menus printed on a vinyl.
You've had a lot of success and it's been a fantastic journey. So what advice would you give to other aspiring entrepreneurs that are looking to start their business now?
Just do it, 100%. But also, is it something you really want to do? So finding something you enjoy doing, and making sure there's a need for it within the market. And if you feel like you can tick those things off, just go do it. Just run with it.
Just do it. That's a great piece of advice, Sanj. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your fantastic story today. It's been an absolute joy to have you on.
Thanks for having me, Mark. I've definitely enjoyed it.
Folks, if you'd like to come and join us on Business Spotlight and share your story like Sanj has just done, he's got an incredible story, then just comment below, apply. We'll be in contact. We'll arrange your interview and we can't wait to get you on. Until next time, thanks for watching.